Hey, let's go. All right.
So before I start, you're probably all wondering, one, why am I here and I have my sweet baby at home? It's because daddies need to get out too, right? And then two, Craig asked me if I would lead the meeting, and I used that as an excuse to come out. I said, honey, Craig asked me to do this, and that's why
I thought you just wanted to meet me. Jeez.
And then, Eric and I have a very interesting connection. So when I saw he was coming, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to be in person. But I miss seeing you guys. It's not the same on Zoom. And I encourage the Zoomers, when you get a chance, to come in, right? All right. So anybody new? Doesn't look like anybody's new today. We have visitors. There you go. Okay, very good. You introduce yourself? Yeah, you're back. Yeah. Well, I think we met earlier on, and that's why I was kind of teasing you. Glad to have you back. The more people in the room, the less cold it feels. So, if you do us a favor, just come by more often. Craig normally asks us, anybody been diving? And when I was driving here today, I was like, I want us to leave with something new. So I'm going to ask who's been diving, but I'm going to also ask, is anybody planning a dive trip and need some assistance? Because I actually need some assistance on a place I'm planning to go. So has anybody been diving? Hit me.
How?
Okay. Where you been, Russell? Been in Cozumel. Just got back Saturday for a week with Bruce Roberts on his trips. I think every year been running it for like 45, 46 weeks. And the reefs look great in Cozumel.
Absolutely.
But the trunks were ripping. Every day till very last day.
Yeah.
Very last dive.
Yeah.
They're ripping so hard that they almost ripped cameras out of your hand.
Yep. Yep.
It was a great trip. Really nice restaurants. Big group. A lot of fun. Tell you that Cozumel doesn't look very good going
no,
at all.
No. I agree. I agree with you. Very healthy. All right. Let's pick somebody on Zoom. Who's been diving on Zoom? Besides Andy, because he's Aquaman.
Okay, I'll duck out.
Brian, you had your hand up. You been diving?
Well, kind of diving. I was part of the entertainment for the wine festival at Moody Gardens. So I was in South Pacific and got to entertain the guests for about 49 minutes.
Okay. All right. We'll look forward to you sharing us some videos with that. Maybe we can like and subscribe. Anybody else in your room been diving? All right, so then I'm gonna switch it. Anybody's planning to go diving? Ah, look at that. More people plan to go diving than dive. Okay, very good. We'll get to that. Excellent. Dennis, where you plan to go diving?
Okay, well, I'm gonna play a couple of dive trips. One of them I'm gonna be going with Scott and Eileen.
Yep.
And some other people from Oceanic Ventures going to be going to Raja Ampat.
Very good.
This one would be in November. Scott and Eileen and I are going to be staying down in Mustua, and one of the resorts down there, and we have a day and a half to plan. So Eileen and I have been busily texting back and forth about what she wants to do. And
right.
I think Scott says, I'll go wherever you want to go.
Already leader. Yeah. Very good.
This is the trip that I won in the photo contest.
I remember that.
On the English Siren, and it's a 2-week trip. I mean, it got awful good, unless it sinks, of course.
Nah, you'll be all right. Be all right.
Good at that.
You'll be all right. Yeah, you'll be all right.
Goes past Halmahera, which is where the Dutch spice trade was basically centered on.
Yep.
In that area. Not York. We end up, of all places, in Limbe.
Oh yeah. Okay,
So
makes sense.
Wide angle and critters everywhere to
It's a new thing.
Halmahera is going to be probably wide angle, big critters.
Yep.
And then muck,
Right.
all kinds of muck.
Talking my language, muck.
And then in December, going with Jesse and Jan and Carl, who I think most everybody knows Carl, of course, as Daddy.
Yep.
And the Beasleys are all going, and we're going to be heading over to Solomon on the Philippines.
Very good.
That will be in early December.
Okay.
Getting back this week. Looking forward to that. That was one of the COVID casualties, and back in
So you just moved the trip?
Do have a trip planned for next year that will be going in
Philippines.
June. Can't remember the dates, but it's going to be with the Philippines.
Yep.
It's a HUPS trip. We have 10 people already signed up. Is that right, Debbie? Yeah. And we have room for 16 on the boat. It's going to be 9 days on the on the Atlantis Azores boat. I've been on before, and it's an excellent boat. Excellent boat. Food on it is 5-star restaurant.
Right. Right.
I don't know if they still have that chef or not. And then 5 days at the resort, at the Dubuquette Resort.
Right.
Central Visayas, Cebu, Malapascua,
Mm-hmm.
Boho, Capilao, Dubuquette. Area. Probably go down and snorkel with the whale sharks, thresher sharks.
Threshers, yes. Wheel sharks down there.
I got you on the list.
I am on a list still. I'm on a list still. I'm gonna say Dennis wants me to go. Just like I said, I needed to be here because Craig told me to be here. So I'm working that one. I got about a year. Very good. Javan, did you have your hand up? Did I see? Wait. Very good. Bonnet trip. Bonnet. Scott.
So a tag on another OBI trip to truck.
Very good.
And for that, so those of you know Erich there, know that he's a tech diving guy. So I've been side mounting, those guys were in Cuba with us, all know that I side mount. Well, now it's not just going to be side mount, it's going to be deco.
Deco. Very good.
So I'm in the middle of Eric's class.
Yep. Tech 40.
Deco diving.
Yeah.
And my head is swimming on
Yeah.
equations. It's like, ah. So anyway, that's going to be right before Indonesia. So I go out to truck, and then I go from truck to visit my wife, who presumably would make it to Bali, and
Yeah.
then Dennis, and
Yeah.
then
Well, that's the plan anyway, right?
Yeah.
that's the plan. Yeah. So and then because I'm nervous about this whole thing, I got multiple things, coming at me, from all sides. There were some things on the Cuba trip that I wasn't happy about with my, actually specifically it was autofocus. And so Friday, I'm going down to Cozumel. Get ready.
You're right. You're right.
And so,
Get-
and if
Knock it
everything-
out.
If everything's gonna be zipping by, right, that autofocus better damn well be
Yeah.
really good. And if it's not, I got a number of guys that I'm gonna be working on this whole
Yeah.
thing. So I'm not going to Indonesia and then truck on top of that.
Yeah.
Without being
I
confident.
can give you a spot in Cozumel. There's no current. It's called Tiki's, right? And we can talk about it after. It's a great macro dive. You can do it during the day. I prefer to do it
That's
at
where
dusk.
Robert was.
That's where That's why I go with Robert all the time.
Mhm.
It's awesome, and it's a great place to hone your skills. It's literally a 2-hour drive, 30 feet, 20 feet map. So
Okay.
we'll talk about it.
Okay, yeah.
Very
let's
good.
talk about it.
Anybody on Zoom planning to go somewhere? Hey, Jesse. No? No? Okay.
Jesse.
Jesse, you're on mute.
I don't think he's going
Unmute,
anywhere. I don't think
Jesse.
he's going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. Yeah, that's why he doesn't want
He
to.
says he doesn't want to
Yeah.
talk.
Okay. Well, again, the reason why I brought that topic up is because it helps us in terms of a community lean on each other. Because right now, if I want to go somewhere, I go to Dennis. He's like my Encyclopedia Britannica of diving, right? And I said, Dennis, can you open tea? Because I want to go to Tahiti in January. and tell me about diving in Tahiti.
Yeah,
Right.
don't bother.
Well,
Unless
actually,
unless you want
I'm
unless you want
going
sharks.
to, I'm gonna do Fakava.
Yeah,
Right?
that's what
So
you
that's
want
what
to do.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
do that instead
Mhm.
and go after the sharks. But anyway, that's great. Officer reports. Yeah, Frank? You got nothing? Nothing?
We got nothing.
Okay, all right. So the treasurer, there was a question mark at treasurer. I'm gonna change that to a thumbs up. Okay, very good.
I have something to say.
We're gonna talk about Bonnet after that.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
Okay, since I'm the vice president, I'm
Yep.
in charge of getting presentations.
Yeah.
I was sweating bullets until just about 3 or 4 days ago when Jesse said, yeah, I have several things I can do.
Okay.
October was open and it's been open for all year.
It has
And
been.
he said, I can do a bunch. And I picked, I think the Hatteras would be a very interesting one. So Jesse, you want to talk just a little bit about your presentation, Hatteras?
Time to get off.
Yeah.
Unmute, Jesse. You're not listening. Okay. Okay, well, I guess not. Okay.
Maybe,
It's nice having
maybe
you,
he's
Jesse.
multitasking. Maybe he's multitasking.
All right.
Oh, Dennis, were you asking me something?
He was multitasking. He was.
Yeah, I know you're all busy. You're doing other things. Hey, I wanted you to just make a quick plug for your Hatteras show.
Okay. Sure. No, this is about a expedition to a highly historical shipwreck that's just off the coast of Galveston, the USS Hatteras, that went down during the time frame of the Civil War battle in Galveston. And the story of the sinking is very impressive. And if you're interested in the history of any Civil War history, especially as it pertains to Galveston, Texas, you've got to read about the USS Hatteras. And we went out with Dr. James Delgado, and we had 3 boats out there, and we were able. Actually, I've dived the Hatteras myself 3 times, and but this was a special expedition to actually go down and do survey the ship, and with some pretty impressive technology. So that's what it's all about. And again, it's a fascinating story and a fascinating shipwreck, and very few people know about it, and even fewer have ever dived on it.
Is it a tech dive or is it a recreational limit?
49 feet deep.
Easy.
It's not very far offshore. It's yeah, and that's another thing. It's the visibility is very, very poor.
Yeah.
Typically it's anywhere from 8 to 12 feet visibility. I've been on it one time though when it was about 50 feet visibility, but not when we did this dive that the presentation is about. We had about 12-foot visibility. The Manta was out there. I'm not able to dive on the Manta because I'm not a NOAA diver. So I hired a separate charter boat out of Galveston to be out there. And then there was a 3rd boat out there as well. We had 3 boats out there. But anyway, I'll save all the details for the presentation, but it's really it's a fascinating story, and it's under the radar. It's under the radar. You know, if anybody has their own boat and wants to go out there and just dive it, you cannot take anything from it. It's protected by the state of Texas. You can go down and look at it. You can photograph it. It's a side wheeler. It's a steam powered walking beam engine side wheeler, and the battle only lasted 10 minutes, and the Confederate ship sunk the Union ship. But anyway, more about that when I give the presentation.
Awesome.
Yeah, on the November presentation, Bob Sanders, who is the doctor down at NASA, and his wife Christine are going to be doing a presentation on cave diving. which I think is going to be
Very
pretty
interesting.
fascinating. Bob always delivers it. I mean, he's one of these people like Justin that can get up and entertain on 2 minutes or 2 seconds notice. I think everybody's going to enjoy October and November. I am definitely interested in people's take on presentations for next year.
Yep.
I'm open to all suggestions, Justin.
Yep.
And I know that we're going to probably be involved with the Cuba trip next year,
Yep.
definitely.
Never that
Yeah.
manages to happen.
Yeah, I think Scott is going to be the lead guy on that. But we also have trips that I think should be talked about. Certainly the 2 trips that I talked about, the Billikiki.
Yep.
We're going to have plenty of photographers and videographers on that trip. But we also have the epic trip from Raja Ampat to Lembe, which
Yep.
that's got a lot of legs,
Oh my God.
really good.
Yep. Okay. So any news on Bonnet? You want to talk about the Bonnet trip at all? All set? Cool. Okay. Okay. Legit. Yeah. Hey, Andy, are you still there? I'm gonna throw something at Andy. You still there, Andy or Christy?
Yeah, we're here.
Hey, you want to talk about the potential Blackwater, the first Blackwater expedition in the Gulf of Mexico in October?
Yeah, so on one of our trips, we're going to try to do some blackwater diving. We're going to go see what it's like. So we tried to do it earlier this year. We got blown out. So we're just going to go on one of our normal trips.
Yep.
After the night dive, we're going to go off into some deep water and do some blackwater diving.
Yeah. So I'm on that one. So that could be a potential story too.
Okay,
good.
Yeah. You know, so I'm putting
looking forward
Andy
to
on the spot so he can do the story and I can just give him footage.
Yeah. Okay,
Cool.
it better be good.
All right. Any other business? No?
Oh, we do have Jim.
Just, those of you who don't know me, I was active in the club with my wife. My wife passed away from cancer about a year and a half ago. I brought her dive gear for anyone who would like it. It takes it. Dennis is going to take it down to.
Yeah, I think Brian, you'll take it, won't you? Take the dive gear from Sudi. He's getting here.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Okay, yeah, I didn't have him close enough to the microphone. Jim has dive gear from his wife that he is giving away. And that doesn't disappear tonight. I suggested that we bring it down and let you do something with it, because I know that you're looking to sell things and make money for the social events that Lunar Fins.
Yes. I'm getting together a bunch of equipment to help with the social events at Lunar Fins. So I would more than appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Happy to oblige.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right.
That's all I got.
Craig normally talks about the gadget of the month. Does anybody have a gadget of the month they want to share? No?
I can do something.
All right. Come on, Martin.
I always do.
All right, my guy.
Let me get you some light here.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure, Brian.
Any of our Lunar Fin social events, anybody in HUPS, it's open to everybody. So we're more than welcome. Y'all are all more than welcome to show up at any of our social events.
Very good.
Yeah, you're on, Martin.
Well, these are things that probably everybody knows about, but I'll just mention a minute. I'm always worried about my weight, getting it back on the plane. And these things are really handy, a little digital scale. Just put it on there, you set it, tells you exactly to the tenth of a pound.
What's the name of it?
Well, there's lots of.
They just Amazon. Yeah, travel scale. They're really good.
But it's really handy. My only comment would be, sometimes the button, when you pack it, it gets pushed and the battery's dead, so always take a spare battery. It's a little coin battery.
Like a CR 2032.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that, something like that. But it's really, really handy. I had one that was not digital and it was really hard to read. This one is really easy. Something like that. Yeah, but maybe you just pick it up and it tells you exactly how much it weighs. So it keeps me from having to switch everything around at the airport. And one more thing.
Okay, good.
This is a little handy thing.
What is
I haven't
that?
tried it yet. It's a reef hook.
A reef hook. Okay, that's a fancy reef
So
hook.
it's a little fancy one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got little things here to not damage the reef or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's got your little hook, you flip it in.
Yeah.
And you can sit.
Oh, the camera's right there. They moved
So,
it. Yeah.
so you can stick it in a pocket. You need to, you know, the current's too heavy or whatever. You want to take a picture. You just clip it on and you get both hands to work your
Yeah.
camera. So,
Exhibit A.
huh? Well, usually a rock or something.
Yeah.
You try to put it on. a
Something
big
hard coral,
piece.
yeah.
But it does have little protector things here, but I don't know how well, I wouldn't stab it into the coral necessarily. But it's better than nothing, because we were in Galapagos, we didn't have these, and the current was just ripping. And so, I mean, you were hanging on for dear life.
Yeah.
You know, hanging on with both hands and using the camera with your other hands.
Those are GoPro days for me.
Yeah.
Those are GoPro days.
Huh? This is just a reef hook. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. We'll put it in the newsletter or something.
Awesome. Yeah, we have a gadget of the month.
Yeah,
All right.
that's interesting because my first reef hook that when I went to Palau in 1997, before HUPS days, was one that I just went down to a tackle shop and bought the biggest hook I could find.
Did you take the sharpness off
Yeah,
the tip?
I did. I
Okay,
took the
okay.
sharpness
Yeah,
off.
very good,
And
very
it
good.
worked.
Yep.
It really worked. You know, for the reef hook, what you have to do is you have to hook it in and then you have to pump up. So you're just a balloon at the end,
Yeah.
or a kite, basically.
If you guys use your, full rigs during heavy current and a reef hook, I admire you. That's GoPro days for me. I'm gonna leave my camera and just take the GoPro.
Well, that's what I ended up doing last
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Because not only the current was so strong.
It's a kite.
Even if you have the camera and you somehow manage to hold it, the arms are just doing.
Forget
this.
about it. Forget about it. Yep. I'm just gonna take my GoPro and enjoy it. So awesome. Well, Dennis, you want to kick off the program? I mean, we could tag team Eric.
No,
I'll
we're
give you
gonna
some
have a
background.
tag team
Yeah.
here between you and me.
Yeah.
I don't know Eric as well as you do. He's someone that comes to us from Austin. I do know that he is was born in Mexico, so I guess you have dual citizenship.
I do.
Yeah, he's a prize-winning or award-winning freelance photographer from Austin. He does a lot of diving in the Central Texas area, and what he's going to talk to us tonight is wet diving and some other stuff. And now it's your turn.
Yeah. So I'll give you. They say the world is very small, right? But if you ever meet somebody from Trinidad, it gets really, really small. So Eric went on assignment to Trinidad, and he was working for a former company that I work for called BHP Billiton. Few people know me there, just a few, right? And one of my ex-colleagues said, "You need to know this guy, Justin Wallace. He lives in Houston, and blah blah blah." So I get this Facebook message one day. It said, "Hey, my name's Eric, blah 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 blah," and then boom, we took off. We had like a week of conversation. One thing I would say is he has a great Facebook page. He tells stories on his Facebook page. A lot of people just post pictures, you go like it, but you actually stop and read and see what he's doing. And it's not just Texas; it's also in Mexico, and it could be surfing, it could be the ocean, it could be the rivers. Go check him out. So I was really pleased when I saw him on the program because he was only on the program this month's newsletter, right? He wasn't there last month on the newsletter.
I think that's
This
right.
month, yeah. He was So I was really pleased, and I was like, I know this guy. I'm gonna come that day and see him. So anyway, this is gonna be entertaining, and
Yeah, I know Andy and I both know a good friend of Eric's as well, and that's Scott Bauer.
Yep.
I think that you're going to probably be talking a little bit about him because some of the stuff that you're going to be talking about in the caves are, I think, with him.
With him, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so without further
Look at
ado,
Uncle
let's get the lights off and turn it over to Senior Schlegel.
Well, muchas gracias, y'all. I wish I was there, and hopefully the next meeting I will be there. So a short history of me. I was born in Monterrey, Mexico, from American parents. My dad is from Texas. He grew up in Monterrey. My mom is American, but she grew up in the Panama Canal Zone. And I grew up in Latin America. And we moved to Brownsville when I was in elementary school. And I discovered surfing, and my dad collected cameras, and on a trip to Panama, he found this Nikonis 2, which was my first camera, and gave it to me. And I would swim out in the surf and take pictures of my friends surfing. And so my first photo was this picture here. My first photo published was this photo of my friend Trey, and this was in Surfer Magazine and a story about Texas. And during college, I really developed a passion for photography. I was studying international business, which is what my father was involved in, and he said he has a commercial art degree, and he found that boring and got into international business. And it's just the tables were turned with he and I, and he saw the passion I had for photography and suggested I maybe do what I love to do for a living. And that was a turning point in my life, and I knew exactly what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I'm very grateful for that. This is another photo I took with that same Nikonis with a fisheye on a story I shot when I was a staff photographer at the Dallas Morning News on the Rio Grande River from source to sea. So I grew up, after moving from Mexico to Texas, we lived in Brownsville, right on the Rio Grande, right on the border where it empties into the Gulf. And my idea of the Rio Grande was where drugs are crossed, where people die, where a lot of bad things happen, and it's just a muddy river. And it was fascinating to go up and see how this clear stream with these beautiful Rio Grande cutthroat trout live. And these are just some other photos I've done of a wave photography, which is kind of what I really had a passion for, was surfing and wave photos. And then that turned into a little bit of underwater stuff. In 2012, my former colleague and then boss from the Dallas Morning News was deputy photographer at National Geographic, and he called me to do a photo for Nat Geo, and this was the photo that ran in the magazine. Some physics graduate students were doing a project for Shell Oil on how bubbles could dissipate shock waves underwater. So they were doing these, what they call a bubble curtain research. And so I got this is a test tank at Applied Research Laboratories here in Austin, where a lot of crazy stuff happens that you never hear about. And this is me and the safety divers on the right, and the head guy, the supervisor guy, is on the right, and the safety guy is on the left. And the guy on the right was the guy that had the photo that they really liked, that they were going to run the story, and it wasn't a great photo. So he made it really difficult for me to get underwater, but I jumped through every hoop that he threw at me, and everything was fine. But as you can see, I'm shooting with an Aquatech water housing, which is kind of the top of the line surfing housing, and that's really what I've been shooting with throughout my, career. And as a photojournalist, I photographed 14 Olympic Games. And right before the Rio Olympics, I was shooting the Olympic swimming trials in Omaha, Nebraska. And we got this housing from Aquatech with a tether to my laptop that's up in the stands. And then I could fire I pre-focus on lane 4. There I am. And that's the photo I got of Michael Phelps before the Olympics. So that was pretty cool. Luckily, I didn't have to mess with any of this stuff at the Olympics. And then all of these photos are shot. This next series of photos are shot with the same Aquatech housing, just available light. This is in Belize. If you notice on the head of this dolphin, there's a shark bite. There's a bite pattern.
Yep.
And I always thought it was a shark bite, and this was shot off of Gladden Spit Marine Reserve, off of Placencia. And my biologist friend down in Brownsville said that's an orca bite. I'm like, what? And then I Googled, killer whales in the Gulf of Mexico, and sure enough, there are orcas in the Gulf and in the Caribbean. I had no idea. This was in Isla Mujeres. That's out the Gulf. A story for Texas Highways. This is my ex-girlfriend Molly Cummings, who's a marine biologist at University of Texas, and she's catching fish for research for the U.S. Navy on how fish camouflage themselves. And this is off of the coast of Port A. One of the rigs that are no longer there, but she's fishing with a Dora the Explorer fishing pole with cut bait. It was a lot. I fished a little bit with that. It was a lot of fun. This is just a few images from the rigs out there. And then I've done a few whale shark things. This was in Panama a few months ago on the Pacific coast, and then this was the same day I photographed that porpoise surfacing and coming down. This is the first whale shark that I photographed, and that was the whale shark's about 90 feet of water. I'm about 70, and I was pushing this housing that has a 30 foot depth rating, to the max, but it held up. I didn't lose my camera, thank goodness. The seals didn't blow. So last summer, I was hired to photograph or to document RGV Reef off the coast of South Padre Island, and this is about a 2 mile square area of piles of cement, railroad ties like here, several shrimp boats that are sunk, and other artificial material that they've put in piles at about 45 to about 85 feet of water. Unfortunately, this was the only clear day we had, and this was July of last year. And then the water just got a little bit murky. And this is about 45 to 50 feet. And this was right after I got my Ike light housing with lights and all that kind of stuff, which is what I use now. This is the lead biologist, Rick Klein from University of Texas at Brownsville. So they're doing a carbon capture measurements, as well as trying to see if they're trying to develop a red snapper nursery to to bring back the red snapper. There's a big problem down there with Mexican fishermen crossing into Texas waters and illegally longlining red snappers and sharks. I have a whole bunch of photos of that, but that's a whole other deal. And so I'm using video. I'm using big blue big blue video lights, and I had two on the housing, and then one pretty strong spot with a diver, behind the subject matter. And what I've mainly been doing, and Scott and I have been doing, is documenting waters here in fresh waters in Texas. This is something I did a long time ago in Balmorhea. But we've been there's Scott Bauer and I in Lake Nueces near Camp Wood, just above Uvalde. And we both do photography for the Edwards Aquifer Authority and kind of document the underwater scene for the Aquifer Authority. And I've been doing it for several years. This is Lake Nueces in the winter. I was just there about a month ago, and you could, it's like 5-foot visibility, and in the winter time it really clears up. But this drought has really affected the visibility in just about everywhere except the Spring Lake, where the San Marcos starts. This is Atlanta Park, where the Comal River starts. I was in this little hole about 2 months ago, and the lake is the spring is barely flowing. The lake is about 2 feet below normal, and it's been very difficult to document any of what's going on in Central Texas. That's also Land O'Lake, silly picture. The Frio River. So I'm trying to get the cypress trees. I'm trying to capture some of the I'm trying to capture the location as well as the underwater scene. And I do a lot of below, like a little half and half stuff in very shallow water. This is the Narrows on the Blanco River during the freeze 2 years ago. If it's a very difficult place to get in. Luckily, I have access through a landowner who he just wants me to document this place, and it's right near. It's just above upriver from Wimberley, and this is out in the Frio River above Lakey. Scott turned me onto this spot. It's the HEB Foundation has a summer camp here, and I wanted to document, kind of the hill country landscape with this beautiful, just gorgeous, turquoise water. Once you get underneath, it's very green, unfortunately. And the Narrows is exactly the same as this, and even worse. We just need some pretty heavy flooding rains to blast all of this, green algae away. This was in Spring Lake, where the San Marcos River starts. I was documenting the removal of all the Ocarina Springs theme park. This is the old submarine theater where people would go in and watch the mermaid show. And this is a commercial diver. He's welding some tabs for the crane company to lift this thing out of the water. I didn't know you could weld underwater until that. There's Scott in Spring Lake recently. One of the volunteer divers removing some invasive plants. The water bubbling up through the sand in Spring Lake from the aquifer, and right now it's hardly flowing. They've really limited the amount of divers in there. more bubbles. Yeah, I'm trying to document how the aquifer feeds into these rivers and lakes and springs. Some other photos from this is in Jacob's Well near Wimberley. It's not even flowing right now, and everything around the well is dry, and it's really like if I was to go down and try to recreate this photo from the bottom, it would just be a bunch of muck. It's really a pretty drastic situation. These are just some girls that look like dead bodies. I thought that was kind of funny. The San Marcos River. This is right near the waterfall where it comes out of Spring Lake, and it's amazing to me how we have this amazing water that people don't realize how, it looks like, these photos look like possibly the Caribbean or something, and it's just, an hour away. And I've really had a lot of fun, documenting the Texas wild rice and some of the fishes. And this, I could just stand up and, it's 4 feet of water right here. And I'm really grateful to be able to document this and add to the Edwards Aquifer, image library. This is a week ago in the Guadalupe River, just below Canyon Lake Dam. I wanted to show kind of, that the rivers are still alive. At least this one is, because the water coming out of the dam. And it was, I was using a video light off to the left and holding my housing with one hand and trying to do above and below and holding it vertically. And I'm just grateful I got a few decent images out of that. And then I had an assignment through Texas Highways Magazine to document caves in Texas. And I got to meet all these cavers, and we did one photo expedition to Devil's Sinkhole out near Rock Springs. There's no water in here, but it was my first experience to do this, and it was 160-foot rappel. And then you also have to climb out 160 feet, using your ascenders. It's a lot of work. Anyways, these guys and gals helped me get underground, and I discovered this whole other world underground. And when I was on this this trip, they were telling me about this particular cave in West Texas that has this. That's me ascending out of this one cave. Is a portrait I did on. This is one of the top cavers in the world, and he lives in Texas. He's mapping one of the world's deepest caves down in Oaxaca, Mexico. And Scott is lighting it from behind, and I'm photographing it from the front. And, let me fast forward. Oh shit! Oh, that's in another. Hang on, just a second. So this is 09 Well, is the cave just north of Ozona. Scott and I did a bunch of training with the tall gentleman in the middle, who we did a lot of training in a backyard in East Austin, and they set up a ropes course, and we had to know how to rappel and ascend and do this and do that, and they gave us the green light, and we did this in the beginning of June. Because they had told us about this 70-foot waterfall underground. And so this was my money shot. Scott has a equally good photo. And to get here, there was a lot of technical caving techniques that you had to do. And there's some more underwater stuff that I want to discover in Texas that we were just on a cave thing recently. But the whole idea of underground water is kind of a fascinating idea for me. It's this particular photo here I took in the caverns of Sonora. This one here, it's a very shallow, pond. And this was a lead photo on a story in Texas Highways about the Texas caves. And it was I light painted this. It was a long exposure. I had my friends light painting, from over here, and I was light painting from where I was sitting on these very sharp rocks. And so this kind of stuff is very is new. It leads me to thinking about cenotes and all kinds of stuff that I want to do more in Mexico. Like I said, I'm originally from I was born in Monterrey, and I lived throughout Latin America growing up, and in 2 years I hope to be living in Jalisco at my parents' old house, and then I want to go explore Mexico. I've been in a few cenotes in the Yucatan, but I've got a lot to explore, and it's a really exciting sort of new part of my career. Well, I'm going to be retired, so that'll free me up, and then Mexico is my home, or my home country, and it's really exciting to think about going back there. And Jesse, next meeting, I want to talk to you about Arrecife Alacranes, the scorpion reef off the Yucatan, because it's been on my dream list for many years. I can hear you, but yeah. Anyways,
which reef was Scorpion Reef?
Arrecife Alacranes, the scorpion reef off of Progreso.
Off of Progreso, okay.
I think you've been there.
Progreso before on Alacran Reef.
Alacran Reef, yes, Alacran.
Oh, okay, Alacran.
Yes.
Okay, Alacran Reef. Yes.
Yeah.
I've
So we'll talk
there.
when I go to the meeting on October 1st. I look forward to discussing, learning all about that.
Sure. Okay.
Great.
Absolutely.
So my background is not in my background is in news photography, a lot of sports photography. I don't really do that anymore. I do some sports, but I have a very wide list of a variety of clients, from the Austin Opera to Texas Highways Magazine to some oil and gas clients, and everything in between. And it keeps things very fresh and exciting. I'm missing the Olympics in France this year, but I told USA Today the only way I'm going to cover the Olympics is if they send me to Tahiti to cover the surfing. But they said, no, I don't think so, Schlegel. Anyways, so basically that's kind of what I had to present. I've done, other than the one photo that I showed you for National Geographic, that same year in 2012, one of my canoe racing friends here in Texas, in Austin, had a expedition down the Amazon River, and that turned into a big National Geographic expedition, and they actually hired me to document the expedition. And so that was my first true Nat Geo assignment. They killed the story because it was too complicated to publish in the magazine. But I was in Peru for 3 months and in Brazil for about 10 days. And it was a great experience. and I didn't get killed, and nothing was wrong. So, I was pretty much expecting to have everything stolen from me, but nothing did. We were pretty smart. We went through some very, very, very sketchy areas, and we were very lucky, and we were smart about how we traveled. So,
Eric, can you hear me okay?
yeah, I can.
Yeah, I have a question for you. You know, as a photojournalist, you've been around the world, done a lot of things. If you had one assignment to pick that you felt like was your favorite one, what would it been?
I've been asked that before. So the first I've documented the Rio Grande from source to sea twice. Once for the Dallas Morning News, and once for a guy that was documenting the river from source to sea. Both of them were great experiences, and I think the first one was a real eye opener to me, because even though I grew up in Brownsville from 6th grade through high school, and then I worked at the Brownsville Herald as my first job as a photojournalist, I had no idea where the Rio Grande started. And I had no idea how beautiful it was. And then I had no idea all of the complicated water rights issues that go, I mean, from Colorado through New Mexico, it's crazy. And then when you get into the international laws and all the stuff we have with Mexico to release water, it was a real I'd learned a lot, and I think learning, especially from somewhere where I grew up and took something for granted, I never thought of where this came from. And it was a great experience to go to where it actually began as snowmelt at the Continental Divide, and then follow that all the way down.
That's just outside of Leadville, isn't it?
Just outside of Creed.
Okay, Creed.
Creed, Colorado. Yeah. Up in the Rio Grande National Forest at a place called Stony Pass. That photo of the guy holding the trout was taken just below the Continental Divide, in a while back. Now, when I documented the river in, I think it was 2014, I had done it before, and I got even more intimate with the river, with the challenges that as the river goes down towards Texas. I mean, there's all these straws that are, taking water out. And really, when it gets down to Elephant Butte Reservoir, just north of Truth or Consequences in southern New Mexico, it disappears. The Rio Grande, when it goes through Las Cruces, is not flowing. It only flows maybe in the spring when there's a lot of snow melt and they let water out for the pecan farmers and the chili farmers. But it disappears. And that was the issue with the Amazon River story, was that the river that we were going down a river that could be a new source to the Amazon, which is the Montaro River. The Apurimac is the accepted source right now. But the Montaro, if you map it out on Google Maps, is actually longer from source to sea. However, there's a dam downriver that during the dry season, it stops the flow, and it goes through the mountains through Peru's largest hydroelectric facility, to provide power. And so, because the river stops for several months during the year, they Geographic knew that I think it was a Royal Geographic Society. They're the you know, they say, you know, what is what in geography around the world. They would never establish the Montaro as a new source to the Amazon. So it was too difficult to explain. So you go back to the Rio Grande and it stops in New Mexico. It doesn't start flowing until after Presidio, where the Rio Conchos comes in from Mexico. So is it really a river from Colorado to the Gulf of Mexico? Well, according to the experts, no. And it was a fascinating experience to document the river. It just gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and all of a sudden we're walking in a dry riverbed, you know. And the school kids in Las Cruces call it the Rio Sand, the Rio Grande. And I know it flows underground, you know. I mean, there's still water flowing underground, but there's many places where it just it's you can't see it from the surface. And who knows how much water is underground, really, because all these, you know, there's so much agriculture and water supply that are taking the water. And you know, we're having the same issue here in Texas in the hill country, especially with urban sprawl and you know, development and drought. You know, if it would start raining again, you know, people would forget about the drought. But I don't know. I saw rain on the radar this morning. I was a little bit hopeful, and it's, you know, it never reached here. Anyways, it's documenting this stuff for the Edwards Aquifer Authority has Scott and I have really it really it puts an exclamation point on this resource that we have, that it's drying up in a lot of places, and it's drying up for several reasons. A drought is a big issue. It's a historic drought, and you know, we can't do anything about that. And so, you know, a lot of the stuff I do is more kind of documentary, and it's not, you know, going to Cozumel or Truck Lagoon or wherever to you know, document all this beautiful life underwater. It's more here in Texas, and as you've seen, I've been underwater in the hill country when things are really good. But all those every single place in that album is pretty much dry right now, you know. Or it's just you know, there's no flow, so there's no visibility, and it's significant, and it's important, and you know, it's difficult to go underwater and expect to get great images, because it's the visibility is not there. Even in the even in Spring Lake, Scott and I did a night dive the other night, about a week ago, and yeah, you could tell how low the flow is in the aquifer. That sand that was bubbling up, you know, it's hardly bubbling up, you know.
Well, we own land up in the Panhandle, and we try to grow cotton up there. And since 2010, when I started managing for our family, we've had like about 5 years where we actually had crops that we didn't have to turn in for insurance. The aquifer up there is basically dry because as it goes down from the north to the south, more and more people are continuing to pump water out of it. By the time it gets down to where we were at the Cap Rock, it was basically gone. And so no, the drought is real. And I want to thank everybody here for helping us pay and to keep keep the farms alive. The farm program's about most of what we get anymore, it seems like.
Well, being a farmer is man, that's a tough gig. And you're relying on nature and a lot of other things. It was very clear in southern Colorado, where the Rio Grande goes to the San Luis Valley. It's a huge farming area, and they have all kinds of agreements with whoever whoever's regulating the river, with how much is coming out for irrigation, and it goes on all the way down to, you wouldn't believe how many pecan farms there are down around El Paso and southern New Mexico, and that requires a ton of water. And I still don't know how they do it, but
what is your camera of choice for your topside assignments?
yeah, so I shoot. I started off with this Nikonis, and then I had some Nikon cameras as I began photojournalism. And then when I was at the Dallas Morning News, the rep from Canon came in, and this was 92, 93 or so. He came in and showed the autofocus capabilities of the Canon EOS and the zoom lenses that they had. And so that sold me on Canon, and I've been with Canon ever since. I shoot right now. I have two Canon R6 mirrorless camera bodies, and I still have two Aquatech housings, one for the old EOS 1D, and then which is about the size of a television set. It's huge.
So you're brave enough to take that down underwater, huh?
Oh yeah, I mean oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's rated for 30 feet, but I've taken it down to 70, 80. My buddy from Getty Images, he took his down to 100 feet, and it blew the O-rings. Yeah, so he lost his camera on that one.
Sure.
But Getty just replaced it. Anyways, but I purchased a Ike Light housing for the R6, the Canon R6, and I've been using that with big blue dive lights, and that's kind of what I can afford, and it's working out just fine.
Yeah, we quite a few of us are working with big blue, and I think Scott, don't you have an R6?
I have an R5.
R5, okay.
I think Andy just went on R6.
Andy just went
Yeah.
to the R6. Okay, so it's
Maybe he has a 5. I don't know. Is it 5?
Andy. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So the R6 is what it made sense for me. I didn't need an R5. I didn't need all that resolution. What I'm missing is the R5 has a capability of sending to a server from the camera if you have a connection, a Wi-Fi connection. And so another weird thing that I do, I shoot the World Cup skiing for USA Today every year, and I don't know how I got into that, but I do. And so I'm up on the mountain, and in the past, I've been sending from the camera through a Wi-Fi unit to an editor somewhere, so that the people in Austria can get, the pictures of their skiers or whatever on deadline. And now I don't have that capability. So I just have to haul ass down the mountain and get my images out as quickly as possible. I don't know if I'm going to be doing that much longer. I'm 61 years old almost. So,
You're a young man. You're a young man.
Okay. I'm not going to, I know
No, it's not.
I've been around older people than me, and they're like, shut up.
Enjoy your retirement. We have.
Well, I plan to. Heck yeah. So I've been shooting Canon. Canon has been very good to me. I'm really good friends with Bob Malish, the rep up in Dallas. If I need anything, like if I need a 500 f4, I just call him and he ships it down, and I go shoot skiing or whatever, and just ship it back to me whenever you're done. I mean, I have a 400 2.8 and that sort of stuff from my days at the Dallas Morning News. But it's it's the old stuff, you know, I mean, it's like, it's heavy. And it has a lot of duct tape on it and it looks.
Yeah, and it's kind of overkill for a mirrorless camera anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's just for sports and that kind of thing.
Yeah, of course.
And the opera. So I shoot, because I shoot for the Austin Opera, I shoot the dress rehearsals, and I have the 400-2.8 on a tripod and then the rest with a 7200, and I'm able to zoom in and capture, you know, that real close up facial stuff, and then the, you know, the wider stage things. And I just love it. It's really a lot of fun.
Yeah, you probably have 10 times as much money in lenses than you do in bodies.
Yes. I take care of all that stuff.
Do we have any other questions? Eric, I want to thank you very much for a very interesting talk. This has been very different than anything that we ever had before.
I figured it would be, and that's good, you know.
Yeah, I think the closest was when Scott came in and he talked about diving in the aquifers and streams and beds and things like that in the Central Texas area. But
Did he talk about his video work a lot or some?
Oh yeah, I asked him to. Sure, yeah.
Oh, good, because he's a great storyteller.
Yeah, I wish I could be like him and just get up and start.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, that man can talk. I mean, he's like Justin Wallace.
Yeah. But without the Trini accent. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to have that accent.
Awesome.
Well, it's been a pleasure to present to you guys, and it's going to be a bigger pleasure to be there. I hope to be there for the October 1st meeting and meet you guys and meet all of y'all in person and go out for Mexican food and whatever afterwards.
Yeah, that would be great.
Please stick around for Eric. Please stick around for our photo presentation. So
well, listen, I do have, somebody was trying to reach me. I'm gonna have to, if you don't mind, I'm gonna have to go. If I wish I could.
I think we have a question.
Oh, yes, please. Yes, please.
Did you ever dive Goodenough Springs?
Where's that?
In the bottom of Lake Amistad.
Oh, no, I've heard about, Scott and I were, we heard about Amistad from someone else who was talking about Amistad and that there's a spring and that's a big possible cave dive. I have not.
Okay, I'm going to let you go. Oh, I know you got to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric.
And looking forward to seeing you next time.
Absolutely.
Jesse, are you going to be here in person, or are you still up in New Jersey at the time?
I'll be in New Jersey.
Jesse,
Okay, so
Jesse, if I would love to meet you in person at some point. So if Dennis has my contact info, if you could give me a shout, I would love to. I would love to get together with you.
Likewise,
yeah.
Likewise, Eric. Hey, Dennis, just wait. Let me double check that. What's the date again for the October meeting?
Is it October 1?
Yep.
1st, yeah.
Wait a minute. October 1st.
No, it's gonna be the
It
second.
can't be the 1st.
Second.
Oh, the 2nd.
Whatever the Monday is.
Hey, you know what? Actually, I will be able to make it, and I'll be in here. I was just checking my calendar. I'm going to be in Houston for 10 days from the 24th of this month, and I don't go back until the 3rd. So Monday the 2nd. Yes, I can be at the meeting.
Well, I'll be doing. I've had 5 trips on the fling canceled, and I'm hoping I have a trip scheduled that weekend with Scott. Hopefully that won't be canceled, but we'll be back Sunday night, and I'll be around all day Monday, and hopefully we can touch base.
Sure, sounds
Cheers.
good. Hey, look forward to it.
Okay, it looks like it's all coming together. That's good. I like to hear that.
Okay, great.
Yep. All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you again, Eric.
Thank y'all.
Okay,
Cheers.
good show. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Eric.
Martin,
You're welcome. It was my pleasure, and we'll see you guys soon.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
All right.
Eric, talk to you soon.
Yeah, cheers, Justin. All right.
All right. This month's photo competition was Camouflage. I hope everybody entered. I like to see amateur. When I do the calculations, I'm like 3 pictures by 4 people, 12. Okay, right. So, so I'm starting to see the novice category, I guess I should say, increase. There's quite a competition in intermediate and.
Oh, hold on, Eric,
Yeah, I'm
you-
trying to figure out how to.
Oh my
get all-
God,
Oh,
like-
stop. Wait. So
Oh my
there
God.
we go.
There you go.
Okay, I got
Anyway.
it. Cheers. Thank you. All right.
So yeah, we're at the home stretch now for the photo competition. So let's see who's gonna stay in the lead, Debbie.
Let's see, looks like we got contact here.
Bam. All right, Andy.
Oh, yeah. I like it.
Very good.
Fish don't have feet. Do they?
Very good. Who expected to see scorpion fish on that presentation? Everybody, right? Everybody expected to see scorpion fish on that.
And frog.
And frogfish, right? And pygmy seahorses.
Pygmies, yeah.
Very good. All right, guys on Zoom. Safe journey at home.